The council chamber dwarfed anything Alex Rodriguez had ever witnessed. Its walls rose and curved until they vanished into the dark above. Soft, floating lights hung in the air without wires or supports, pulsing in rhythmic colors like living hearts. Alex sat before a massive table carved from a single flawless crystal, its surface smooth and cold beneath his fingers. Around it gathered delegates from 12 worlds. The Zephyrians resembled vast jellyfish adrift in transparent suits filled with shimmering gases, their bodies glowing in soft blue hues that brightened with emotion. The Krikar looked like towering insects, their countless eyes and arms in constant motion, their speech rendered into words by clicking, buzzing translators. Alex was captain of the UEE's Horizon, Earth's newest vessel, built solely for this moment. For 3 long years, humanity had petitioned to join the Xerian Alliance, a galactic union that had preserved peace for over 3 millennia. It was a name every child on Earth knew, a dream every student was raised to believe in. Ambassador Elena Vasquez lowered her tablet after delivering Earth's formal application. She had rehearsed her address for months, speaking proudly of humanity's triumphs in science, their end to war, their victory over disease and hunger. When she finished, silence fell heavy across the chamber. Alex could hear his own pulse thudding in his ears. Dr. Nathan Pierce, Earth's leading scientist, shifted uneasily beside him, fingers twitching over his notes. On Alex's other side sat Jake Morrison, head of security, his hand instinctively near his weapon despite the strict ban on arms. High Counselor Veltar rose slowly, his translucent form rippling with troubled colors. His voice, musical and fluid, was rendered intelligible through the translator, though sorrow still bled through. "We have watched your species for many of your years," he began. "We have observed your progress with admiration. Your minds create wonders. Your machines evolve beyond expectation. You reach for the stars with unmatched resolve. Yet," Veltar's glow dimmed, "we must decline your request." Elena's complexion drained to white. Nathan's tablet slipped from his grasp, clattering against the crystal floor. Alex felt as though the air had been struck from his chest. They had prepared for every possibility, except this one. Not a simple no rejection. Veltar's body brightened as he continued, his glow flickering like distant lightning. "We do not reject you because you are primitive, nor because you lack understanding. We reject you because we fear what you may become." His words echoed through the vast chamber, heavy as stone. "Our observation networks have studied your history. We have seen you endure what would have extinguished most life." Nathan Pierce stood abruptly, voice trembling with emotion. "But we've changed," he insisted. "We've moved beyond that past. We are unified now. War exists only in our books. Hunger and disease are behind us. Humanity lives in peace." Veltar's glow faded to cold, dim light. "Dr. Pierce," he said softly, "it is not your peace that frightens us. It is your response to danger. We have witnessed what humans become when threatened. We have seen you split atoms, survive extinction, turn wastelands into gardens. You overcome every trial, but always through conflict. You adapt through struggle." Across the chamber, alien delegates murmured in agreement, clicks, hums, and gestures from a dozen species. Alex suddenly understood. They all feared humanity. Elena rose to speak, her voice quiet but determined. "We only wish to join the galactic community," she said. "To learn, to share, to explore together, to make the galaxy better for all." Veltar's body dimmed into mournful violet patterns. "We wish we could believe that, Ambassador Vasquez. But history tells us otherwise. When humans are cornered, you do not retreat, you annihilate. Your wars end only when your enemies no longer exist. There is no compromise, no surrender, only victory or extinction." Silence settled like frost. The human delegation sat motionless, hearts sinking. Years of hope unraveled before their eyes. Alex felt shame, anger, and sorrow knot together in his chest. Then the lights above began to fade, dimming one by one. The air thickened, heavy and electric. Even the translation devices faltered. A new presence entered the chamber. Jake's hand drifted toward his holster before he caught himself. A tall figure emerged from the shadows, encased in armor that seemed to breathe. The metal shifted like liquid, whispering and grinding as it moved. Beneath it, something unseen stirred, defying focus. Gasps spread through the room. The Vicarian Empire had arrived. Everyone knew their reputation, conquerors of 47 systems, rulers through fear. Those who surrendered lived under their protection. Those who resisted vanished from history. The Vicarian delegate's voice rasped like steel tearing against stone. The Empire has monitored these proceedings. If the Alliance refuses the humans, perhaps they will accept a different offer: serve the Empire. Provide soldiers, resources, and obedience. In return, you will know safety. Elena stood tall, eyes locked on the armored figure. Her tone was unwavering. The United Earth government thanks you for your generosity, but humanity seeks partnership, not submission. We build through respect, not chains. A sound came from the Vicarian, harsh, metallic, almost like laughter. We did not expect acceptance, the Vicarian hissed, voice grinding like fractured steel. Our offer was merely courtesy. You will serve the Empire. The only question is whether you submit willingly, or after we teach you the price of defiance. 47 star systems have learned. You will be the 48th. A hush fell over the council chamber. Every delegate recoiled from the armored giant's words, yet none spoke. None defended humanity. The mighty Xerian Alliance, keepers of galactic peace, stood silent in their fear. The Vicarian turned to leave, metal scraping against the crystal floor. At the threshold, it paused and looked back. You have one of your years to decide. After that, we will collect what is ours, willing or not. When the figure vanished, silence consumed the chamber once more. Then Veltar approached the human delegation, his glow dim and mournful. We cannot grant you membership, he said softly. Our fear runs too deep. But we can offer a warning. The Vicarian Empire has conquered 47 star systems. None have offered serious resistance. They believe you will be the same. Weak, disorganized, easy to break. They do not understand what you are. Alex frowned. Are you telling us to fight them? To go to war against an empire that has never lost? Veltar's colors shifted into slow, complex patterns. I am saying perhaps the Empire will learn why the Alliance was formed. Perhaps they will finally grasp that some species are better left alone, and that they should have heeded our warnings about humanity. The human delegation departed in silence. Their mission, years of effort, lay in ruins. Rejected by the Alliance, threatened by the Empire, they returned to their ship without a word. As they walked through the gleaming corridors, Alex felt a cold certainty forming in his chest. Maybe Veltar was right. Maybe the Vicarians would learn what humanity truly was when cornered. But he feared that lesson would come at a terrible cost. 6 months later, the cost arrived. Admiral Lisa Chen stood on the bridge of the UEE's Victory, eyes fixed on the tactical display. Her coffee had long gone cold, forgotten beside her. The screen glowed red, 300 hostile contacts at the edge of the solar system. Each red dot marked a Vicarian warship, vast and ancient, larger than anything humanity had ever built. The fleet was magnificent and horrifying. Dreadnoughts kilometers long moved with mechanical precision, armored like mountains of living metal. Even their smaller cruisers dwarfed Earth's strongest ships. Their formation was flawless. Every maneuver calculated with cold mathematical perfection, born of centuries of conquest. Against this armada, Earth fielded only 42 ships, most improvised from civilian craft. Cargo haulers now carried missile racks instead of containers. Passenger liners had become troop transports. Mining ships bristled with cannons scavenged from orbital platforms. Humanity's fleet was fragile, desperate, and ready. The Vicarian message was blunt: submit within 1 solar day or face extermination. Earth will be sterilized, survivors enslaved. Resistance is futile. President Amanda Foster's reply echoed across every colony, every ship, every screen. You want our world? Come and take it. We are human. We do not kneel. We do not submit. If you wish to destroy us, you'll have to earn it. The first clash came near Jupiter. Captain Ryan O'Brien commanded the heavy cruiser UES Defiance, leading the forward screen. Once a merchant captain, he now faced a fleet of seasoned conquerors, The Vicarians attacked in flawless formation, their tactics polished by millennia of war. They expected a clean, orderly battle, ship to ship, following the rigid doctrines of civilized warfare. What they found instead were humans who didn't play by the rules. Commander Sophie Turner led a squadron of repurposed mining vessels on what appeared to be a suicide run. Their holds were crammed with mining charges and radioactive waste from Earth's old cleanup sites. The Vicarian shields, built to deflect plasma and kinetic fire, were useless against what came next. Sophie's pilots dove straight into the enemy formation and detonated their payloads point blank. Nuclear fire bloomed in silence, and the void filled with glowing clouds of deadly radiation. On Europa, Dr. Kevin Martinez had spent months preparing what his team called the welcome mat. When the first Vicarian landing forces descended on Europa's ice fields to establish a forward base, they triggered a carefully planted network of explosives. An entire mountainside collapsed, burying their advanced troops under kilometers of frozen debris. The Vicarians were caught off guard, but not yet alarmed. They had seen resistance before. Every conquered species fought hardest when cornered, but never had they faced an enemy that enjoyed psychological warfare the way humans did. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Kim, once a special operations officer, understood. That war was fought as much in the mind as on the field. She hijacked Vicarian communication channels, broadcasting in flawless translation across their fleets. Calmly, methodically, she dissected their legendary tactics. "Your formations are predictable," she announced over their own frequencies. "Your commanders repeat the same mistakes. Your soldiers obey without thought. You have grown complacent, fat from too many easy victories. We've studied every war you've ever fought. We know exactly how you'll react." As battles raged, the Vicarians began to understand this was no ordinary conflict. Human ships rammed enemy dreadnoughts at full burn, sacrificing themselves to take the giants down. Pilots ejected not to flee, but to detonate personal nukes inside Vicarian hangars. Damaged vessels were abandoned, only to be remotely piloted into enemy formations as makeshift missiles. Captain Frank Lopez turned his crippled destroyer into a living torpedo, steering straight for the Vicarian flagship. He stayed aboard just long enough to guarantee impact, then launched himself free seconds before the explosion consumed his ship and the enemy command vessel alike. On Earth, General Marcus Webb had prepared for invasion. When Vicarian ground forces finally broke through Luna's orbital defenses, they found a planet that refused to yield. Every metropolis had been converted into a fortress. Every street, every structure, a weapon. Civilians became soldiers overnight. The Vicarians expected open combat. Instead, they found empty cities and silent skies. Humanity had vanished underground, into bunkers, tunnels, and hidden bases, stretching for thousands of kilometers. When invaders tried to occupy major centers, they found themselves hunted by ghosts. Strikes came from sewers, subways, and shadows, then vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Supply convoys were torn apart by ambushes from resistance fighters who seemed to know every valley, every passage, every trick of their own world. The war was becoming something the Empire had never fought before. And then came the blow that changed everything. Dr. Emma Thompson, a xenobiologist, had spent years studying alien physiology. When fragments of Vicarian tech were recovered from wrecked ships, she made a breakthrough. Their biomechanical armor, seemingly indestructible, was vulnerable to a narrow band of electromagnetic radiation, the same frequency Earth's weather control satellites used to stabilize storm systems. With swift modifications, those satellites were turned into orbital weapons. They could unleash targeted bursts that shut down every Vicarian suit on the planet. Meanwhile, Captain Maria Santos led a boarding team onto a damaged enemy cruiser, not to capture it, but to infect it. Her team, guided by hacker Danny Clark, breached the Empire's encryption in real time, slipping a virus into their systems. For the first time since the war began, humanity could listen to Vicarian command traffic, and what they heard was not arrogance. It was fear. The Empire's commanders had been turned into makeshift warships. His fleet operated deep behind enemy lines, targeting Vicarian logistics hubs and communication relays. With no official markings and transponders broadcasting false Imperial codes, Lopez's ghost fleet struck without warning, then vanished into the radiation shadows before a counterattack could form. Each success fueled the legend that humanity had unleashed something uncontrollable, something born not from discipline, but from desperation and defiance. By the 5th month, the myth had become a weapon in itself. Entire Vicarian units surrendered at the mere sight of human vessels. Supply convoys refused to enter the Sol system without triple escort. Commanders hesitated before issuing orders, fearing they might be responding to human forgeries. The Empire's perfect machine of war had begun to fracture under its own fear. Admiral Patterson watched the collapse unfold from a command bunker beneath New York. Holographic. Displays showed enemy movements growing, erratic. Withdrawals, mutinies, even friendly fire incidents. "They're unraveling," Chen said quietly beside him. Patterson nodded, his voice low. "They thought this would be easy. They thought they could break us." He looked up at the shimmering projection of Earth, scarred but still alive. "But you can't conquer a species that turns every wound into a weapon." Above them, the secret armada, ships forged in silence beneath the Martian crust and the frozen seas of Europa, was preparing to move. Engines rumbled across the void, reactors humming with captured alien technology and human ingenuity. When the signal came, the fleet would rise. The Vicarians had come to enslave humanity. Instead, they had taught it how to fight like gods, that glowed like captured stars. The Retribution led the formation, its hull a seamless blend of alien alloys and human engineering, a weapon born from desperation and genius. Along its flanks, rail cannons the size of skyscrapers charged with pulsing arcs of blue-white energy, while drone swarms formed living shields around the fleet, ready to intercept anything the Vicarians launched. From the bridge, Admiral Tony Rivera watched in silence as tactical feeds filled the air with shifting symbols, enemy formations, power readings, and pulsing distress signals. Around him, his officers stood at their stations, calm, focused, and burning with quiet fury. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "they're hailing us, demanding identification." Rivera gave a faint smile. "They already know who we are. They just can't accept it." Across the void, the Vicarian armada wavered. Commanders issued conflicting orders, their encrypted channels flooded with false commands and human mimicry. Ships fired on allies. Others fled. Discipline, the cornerstone of their empire, was collapsing under the invisible weight of human psychological warfare. Then the Retribution fired. The main cannon tore a hole through reality itself, a beam of magnetically compressed plasma that split a Vicarian dreadnought clean in half. The blast echoed across the system, lighting asteroid fields with reflected fire. One by one, human vessels emerged from concealment, flanking, circling, and carving through the once invincible fleet. In orbit over Mars, Admiral Chen coordinated strikes with terrifying precision, while Colonel Peter Morgan's Ghost Protocol units sabotaged ground-based tracking stations. Lieutenant Colonel Kim's broadcasts flooded every Vicarian channel, her voice calm and steady. "Your war is over. You invaded the wrong species." Within hours, the Vicarian command network collapsed. Some ships self-destructed rather than face capture. Others surrendered to human forces, broadcasting pleas for mercy to a planet they had called primitive just months before. From the ruins of their empire's arrogance, humanity rose united and transformed. The invaders had come seeking conquest, and instead, they had given birth to legends. Sense of invincibility. The results were catastrophic. Entire Vicarian formations broke apart mid-battle, refusing orders or firing on their own command ships. Panic rippled through ranks that had once considered themselves the galaxy's elite. Admiral Tony Rivera watched from the bridge of the Retribution as the tactical displays filled with collapsing enemy signatures. "Execute Hammerfall," he ordered calmly. Across the system, hidden human vessels powered up their drives. Massive, kinetic projectiles, city-sized rods of tungsten, were launched from deep space catapults, descending on Vicarian positions with the fury of extinction itself. Impact zones blossomed with light brighter than dawn, erasing entire fleets in seconds. On the Vicarian flagship, alarms screamed. War leader Theori staggered to his command chair as systems failed around him. The world burner, once their symbol of absolute power, now lay dead and silent, its circuits melted by Rachel Parker's sabotage. His officers shouted for orders, but Theori could only stare at the growing swarm of human ships on his display. They moved with terrifying unity, every maneuver a coordinated expression of vengeance. In underground bunkers across Earth, cheers erupted as intercepted transmissions confirmed the impossible. The Empire was collapsing. For the first time, humanity had turned the tide not through diplomacy or retreat, but through sheer, unrelenting defiance. General Brooks's command issued a single message to all forces. No survivors among the invaders. No mercy for the Empire. Days later, the last Vicarian warship was cornered near Jupiter's orbit. When its captain refused surrender, the Judgment fired its primary weapon. The beam struck like divine wrath, shattering the vessel and leaving only drifting embers in its wake. Silence followed. A silence that spread across human channels and eventually across the galaxy. The war was over. The Vicarians, once masters of 1,000 worlds, had been annihilated in less than half a year. Earth's skies were scarred, its cities burned, but humanity stood victorious, tempered by fire, united by loss, and armed with knowledge the galaxy would never forget. Admiral Rivera recorded the final transmission himself. His voice was calm, almost solemn. To all who hear this, humanity remembers. We rebuild, and if you come for us again, you will not return. The message echoed through the void long. After the battles ended, a warning and a promise carved into the stars themselves. Believing fear could control you, he said softly. They mistook compassion for weakness and mercy for surrender. They did not realize that beneath your empathy lies the fire of survival. The galaxy will not repeat their mistake. Admiral Chen regarded him steadily. Then perhaps, she replied, there's hope for this galaxy after all. Humanity has no desire to rule, only to ensure that no one else suffers as we did. We will help rebuild what the Empire destroyed, but we will do it on our terms. Freedom first. Always. In the months that followed, human fleets spread not as conquerors, but as liberators. They dismantled Vicarian slave systems, destroyed the genetic foundries that had produced bioengineered soldiers, and restored self-governance to worlds long under imperial rule. Where the Empire had imposed obedience through terror, humanity offered something the galaxy had forgotten: choice. Captain Lucy Anderson's Judgment was repurposed into a peacekeeping command vessel, orbiting neutral space as a visible reminder of what humanity could unleash if provoked. Yet despite the power they now wielded, there was restraint in every decision. Humanity had learned the terrible price of vengeance and understood that the line between protector and tyrant was perilously thin. President Foster addressed the newly formed Galactic Council, her words broadcast to billions. Humanity will not rule the stars through fear. We will lead through memory. Let every civilization remember what happens when freedom is threatened. Remember the cities burned, the lives lost, and the courage that answered tyranny. The price of peace is vigilance, and we will pay it, every day. As the applause echoed through the great chamber, Admiral Chen looked out across the assembly of species. Some still trembled at the sight of her uniform, while others looked upon humanity with gratitude or hope. The balance of power had changed forever. The age of conquest was over. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was free. But every species knew the unspoken truth. The cost of that freedom had been written in fire. And should darkness ever rise again, the children of Earth would rise with it, unyielding, unbroken, and unafraid. Believing domination defined civilization, Veltar said, his voice trembling through the translator. But perhaps humanity has shown us that true order is born not from fear, but from duty. From the ashes of conquest, the new galactic order rose, not an empire, but a promise. Humanity became its heart, not through power alone, but through purpose. Captain Robert Johnson commanded the UES Guardian, leading the human protection fleet across former Vicarian space. His ships appeared wherever tyranny tried to take root, striking swiftly, defending relentlessly. The Guardian's crew was a coalition of freed species, once slaves, now volunteers. They fought beside humans not because they were commanded to, but because they believed in what humanity stood for. Human peacekeeping was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. No permanent garrisons, no tribute, only the assurance that if you called for help, humanity would come. Their fleets became the galaxy's immune system, extinguishing threats before they could spread. On Europa, Dr. Pierce, once the idealist, who believed humanity could remain peaceful, now led an institute dedicated to understanding the nature of aggression. "We are not peaceful," he admitted during one session, "but we've learned to wield our rage like a shield. We fight to protect, not to dominate. That's what makes us dangerous and necessary." Ambassador Elena Vasquez guided the new diplomacy that came to be known as Speak Softly and Carry a Planet Killer. Her team negotiated peace with a calm smile and the silent presence of orbital superweapons. It was diplomacy backed by certainty. When the Skarn tried to enslave the Alari, humanity gave them 1 hour to retreat. They refused. 1 hour later, their largest fortress was a crater glowing from orbit. No second warning was ever needed. The Zephyrian Alliance, once fearful of human potential, requested Earth's protection. Admiral Chen agreed under clear terms. Human patrols would defend Alliance space, advise their fleets, and enforce galactic law. Humanity had become not a member of civilization, but its guardian. Across the stars, sanctuary worlds emerged, safe havens for the oppressed. On New Hope, the Corinth refugees rebuilt their culture. On Haven, the broken remnants of the Tari found peace. Each sanctuary was protected by hidden fleets and quantum-linked defenses. When the Vox Collective raided one, Captain Lopez's fleet arrived within hours. His transmission was brief. "You attacked civilians. This ends now." The collective ceased to exist by sunrise. Decades passed. War became legend. Trade and science flourished beneath the shadow of human vigilance. On Earth, a memorial stood in the heart of what was once Times Square. Carved into its black marble were the words, "They came for our freedom." They learned why we never lost it. They thought strength meant destruction. We showed them it meant protection, and across the void, human patrols continued their silent vigil, ships gliding through the dark with a message etched on their hulls.